Welcome back to the Midweek Update.
Hey Mepham, welcome to this week's episode of the Midweek Update.
As you can see, we're back home this week.
Hopefully by the time this episode airs, we'll all be back in school, but for now we can still take a look at what's happening in the community from our homes.
Right, so let's take a look at how different parts of the school have been operating with COVID-19 restrictions so far this year.
This and more as we take a look at what's going on this week on Midweek Update. I'm Haley Hepworth.
And I'm Riley Freed, and welcome back to the Midweek Update, the B&B show that brings you closer to the people and places in and around the Mepham community.
It feels weird to be recording from home again.
Yeah, it's just like last spring. Luckily, this time should only be temporary though.
That's true. The district has done a great job so far on preventing the virus from spreading too much in school. So even though it has meant some restrictions, we've been able to continue in-person learning for the most part.
These restrictions put in place have changed things around the school, but like we've showcased in previous episodes, there have been many ways to keep a lot of these programs and classes going while still following these guidelines.
A day where we're at home, like today, can hopefully make everyone appreciate the fact that we're usually learning in person and can still do a lot of the activities within school that we would normally be able to, despite these restrictions.
Yeah, and something that has been continuing this year, even though a lot of changes have been made, has been art classes. B&B's Alyssa Romandetto got to see exactly how they're working this year.
Life during the pandemic has changed ways of life all around the world, and Mepham art classes are no different. With the new COVID restrictions, art classes are a whole new ballgame for teachers to tackle.
Well, knock on wood, the infection rate at Mepham is still really low, and I think that says a lot about not only our student body remaining safe, but it also says a lot about the safety and health protocols that we have in place. So overall, I would say it's been very successful so far. It hasn't been easy, but as long as we continue on this track, overall students will be pleased to hear that we'll keep school open.
It's interesting. It's a lot of creative thinking, so I guess in that sense maybe it's good for our teachers, but it's challenging. I mean, the plexiglass is obviously already there thanks to the custodians, but having individual small-scale visuals set for each kid so they can look up and see right there what it is that I'm talking about without having to go move things. They also have their own supplies.
It's not just teachers who have to deal with the new changes. Students now also have to accommodate for the restrictions put in place to keep us all safe.
Certain times it does become difficult to create what you want to create because of how everything needs to be put with using the barriers and needing to give everybody space. But overall, it's challenging, but we got through it. We've been getting through it for the past 2 months, so we've been fine.
I think the students have adapted much better than the adults have. I feel that the students are willing to be here every day, willing to put the work in, and it's the adults who have had a harder time adapting, but they're doing the best they can. The artistic talent has not suffered at all during the pandemic. These kids are showing their truest colors, their finest work. It really has been an amazing thing to watch.
Even with all of these new rules we have to follow, students and teachers are making the most of it and continue to impress the community around them.
How they've overcome the challenge of going strictly digital has been pretty interesting and very impressive.
For B&B, I'm Alyssa Romandetto.
Thanks, Alyssa. Art students have still been able to participate in their classes so far this year. Although things have clearly been different, it seems like they've been able to adapt and do well in this new system.
Yeah, and like Mr. Gomez said, the infection rate at Mepham has been extremely low. As long as everyone continues these safety measures, we should be able to have classes like this and lower the amount of online days like today.
Right. The goal is to be in person as much as possible, and especially since on remote days like this, things like intramurals can happen. In general, the start of new sports has gone well. And B&B even got to take a look at what the athletes have been doing. Here's B&B's Sports Talk host Lily Yepez with the sports.
Thanks, Haley. It is a short week at Mepham Sports, but a busy one. Spring intramurals hit the fields last week, and despite the cold weather and rainy weather and pandemic remote days, Our spring athletes hit the fields for drills and conditioning last Friday. Intramurals will run for 5 weeks, weather permitting, as our athletes and coaches prepare for what will hopefully be a spring season in the new year. B&B is also putting the finishing touches on the second installment of Sports Talk, featuring me and Tom profiling 1991 Mepham graduate and former NFL player Donnie Brady. We profile JFK senior Rachel Nelson and her push to drop the lady from girls sports, and of course it is another Matt Mano Minute. So be sure to check out the latest Sports Talk on the B&B YouTube page. That's all for Midweek Sports, and back to you, Haley and Riley.
Thanks, Lily. It's great to see Mepham athletes getting to play their sports, even if it isn't in the normal way.
Yeah, things like athletics seem to be one of the more difficult things to manage under COVID restrictions, and along with that comes gym class.
So far, both sports and gym classes have gone well for the district. B&B's Luke Melfa found out how gym teachers have been handling classes this year, and what students' reactions to these new circumstances have been.
The world is changing, that's no secret. Within these confusing times, teachers are trying to find the best ways to teach their classes. While people have begun to adjust, one class that has it much harder than the rest is gym class.
Well, I think that phys ed as a whole, all the teachers I think are expecting or have the same expectations for the students that we've always had. I don't think that any of that has changed. I think that our expectations are a little different in the sense of we need to work with whatever challenges we're being faced with, whatever limitations that we have. But overall, I would say that the expectation of getting students out here, getting students to be social, getting students to be active, I would say that that's all the same as it's always been.
Gym class is the one period when students can enjoy sports and other activities other than their typical paper-pencil writing assignments. However, with the current safety precautions being taken around the world, gym class has been altered to fit the needs of said regulations.
Obviously, as a phys ed person, I would love to see kids being engaged in activities and team sports and all of the other activities that we do. But again, because of the limitations, we've had to, make it a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere.
We were always outside just walking the track and just like playing soccer sometimes.
Last year we obviously got to not wear masks, a lot more interaction with passing the ball, got to play indoor sports more. They don't really let us play basketball during a rainy day. It's more just like walking around the gym. So that's definitely the main difference.
Though sports are extremely difficult to organize in the current climate, the gym teachers have found ways to make the class enjoyable.
Well, as far as outdoor activities go, we are walking. Our goal is to keep students moving, so we're able to have a frisbee catch. We're able to kick around a soccer ball. We're able to do small group activities, limiting team sports. We can't do that yet, but there's going to be a whole lot of activities that we're going to be able to do once we move back inside.
Due to current safety protocols, all gym classes are being held outside. The only problem, what happens when the weather gets worse?
So yes, we've been very fortunate that we've had a bunch of nice days, warm days. Again, I'm in a t-shirt. We're in the middle of November. So when we're outdoors, it hasn't presented much challenges. When we move inside, given the nature of being limited to, at this point, to 2 gymnasiums, we're going to rotate. We're going to, provide various activities. We've been showing films in the North Gym, documentaries, and we're going to make do with what we have for, given the space that we've been provided.
Despite all the problems that have arisen because of this virus, the students are more than grateful for the effort the gym teachers have put in to make the class work.
They're very nice. They help us out. They know the problems they know the struggles of going through gym. They know, especially now with the COVID, so they're a little bit more lenient, especially having kids online, it's very difficult for them, so I just want to make their lives a little bit more easier.
For B&B, I'm Luke Melfa.
Thanks, Luke. While gym may not look like it used to, it's still a nice break from other classes where we can get outside and get some exercise. The gym teachers and administrators have worked really hard to have it continue to be a part of our day.
Yeah, and hopefully the hard work of not only these teachers, but everyone in the district can continue to keep us in school throughout this pandemic.
Exactly. While remote days like today are definitely better than nothing, we need to keep following guidelines so we can stay in person as much as possible.
Yeah, our next segment actually has to be pushed off until next week since we're online. Last episode, if you stuck around at the very end, you got to see some funny moments in the control room while we recorded Midweek Update.
We don't have a control room today, so our technical director and script supervisor that you saw last week can't make an appearance. But next time they can. They're going to give you a behind-the-scenes look at what they do for the show, so stay tuned for that next episode, as well as the next transition definitions.
Sounds like fun. Well, that's it for this week's Midweek Update. We'll be back next week with all new stories from around the BMCHSD to bring you inside the parts of the community we don't always get to see.
Until then, I'm Ellie Hepworth.
And I'm Riley Freed, and we'll see you all next midweek. I don't know. All right.